While DD Mouse takes on an impressionist mode of creation, following loose threads of ideas, Mito has a more direct approach. Whenever there was a snag in his process, he would reread the screenplay. He even has an app that automatically scrolls through text, where he can then put the screenplay in and read the story as he composes. He cites Kaerimichi as a song created in this direct method of immersion. Kaerimichi has a distinct texture and atmosphere that is traceable to Mito's other tracks as well. For example, in episode 6, when Ai decides to return to school. This is after she saves someone who has gone through similar circumstances, having no one believe in her, and everyone imposing their beliefs about who she is, being supposedly out of her mind for seeing ghosts. Ai is also someone where people have imposed beliefs on. Everyone has theories about Koito's death and connections to Mr. Sawaki. Everyone has their own say in it, except for Ai. After all of this, Ai runs towards school. She's running into rain, but it's not tense or energetic. It's quiet. The song is a solo piano, slow chords, careful notes. There's enough space for the diegetic sounds to seep in. We hear the rain, the steps, her breaths. They fill in like an accompaniment. These are high notes, pointed, precise, and as the song goes on, we get more rhythm and melody, as if the song is finding confidence. This mirrors what happens to Ai. This is a rather quiet scene, taking place in Ai's contemplation, and we don't get any internal dots leading into it. Before she runs out, she's figuring things on her own, slowly and carefully, and even as she's running, it's still that. It's a quiet and reflective moment. There's no dialogue or dots, and by the very end, as she arrives, she has found her confidence, and has this resolution and declaration of going back to school. It's a powerfully quiet song, and I can see how specific it is to the scene. It feels to me very well intentioned, as if the notes and chords, the rhythm, the piano following so closely, were made for this moment. To go back to Kaerimichi, it plays during Rika's episode. However, there is one song before Kaerimichi on the OST that also plays, which to me seemed very striking, and another great example of how well intentioned his music can be. She comes home on her birthday and is about to self-harm. The song is a mixture of guitar with whistling and harmonica. The harmonica gives it a very mellow tone, and it complements the whistling, both acting as the voices of the song. It's a steady tune, and there isn't a drastic change in tempo. It's very controlled, which matches with what Rika is doing. This isn't her first time in this position, and she has control over the blade. Her hands are steadily pushing it closer and closer. The harmonica and whistling, at times, seems to overwhelm the guitar. You hear them first, and they come on top of the track. They are the ones leading the song. But the guitar is vital to holding things in place. It's a consistent bass line, keeping the rhythm in check, and I think that's also a good way to look at the scene and how it concludes. There's the urge for Rika to self-harm, the, to her words, weakness that she is trying to overtake. She's steadily getting there. This is that harmonica and whistling, ever so strong, but that bass line, the guitar, the strength in herself and in the others who are there for her is there. She doesn't go through with it, and I think that clashing duality of the scene, of the tension and emotions, is well laid out in this combination of instruments. This is another case where it feels very intentioned, that Mito wanted to use multiple clashing instruments, unlike with his previous song where it was just a solo instrumental. He had them play off of each other, one overtaking the other, but still maintaining a low-key atmosphere to highlight the scene. It matches, but doesn't overwhelm. Alright, this time for real, let's look at what the source actually mentions to display Mito's method of immersive creation, Kaerimichi. The song's title is translated as On the Way Home, or The Road Home. This is a very fitting title as it's the last track we hear as the episode closes, with Rika having arrived home. The track begins as she talks to the religious fanatic and explains her weaknesses and how she'll keep living.
あなただって弱いくせに甘かしてるくせに弱いよだから大事なもの捨てなくていいようにこれでバランス取ってたんだよ
It starts with these solemn notes from an acoustic guitar, which are accompanied by this one high note that twangs. That note completes the melody, but its tone is different. It's sonority in the sound, and you can even hear the strings echo. It's imperfect, rough, and fitting for Rika. She isn't perfect, and the harmony she finds and the strength she has is steeped in her darkness. Then an additional electric guitar comes in and, like before, this feels like an additional voice adding in their opinion. It takes over, just like how her truth and her strength takes over to push her forward to see her road home. It's fitting that this guitar hits right as Rika admits that she's weak.
私は弱い。だけど、それがまんま私なんだ。
It's an acceptance, but it's also how she's able to keep on living. It overtakes the other notes and highlights her strength. As the song goes on, a piano is added, and it hits just as Rika has settled in as the gang welcomes her back.
リカ。死なないで。
The flurry of warm piano notes are reflective of this moment, and it ends up being what pushes the melody forward. The friends she has, the piano notes, are on top of the sound. It's fitting, then, that when she does make her way home, what comes out of it is still that electric guitar. It isn't so much that she now no longer has that friend support, and the piano notes are still there, very quietly and softly. They will still be there. But for the time being, as she's alone and has to soldier on, she has to do it with the one strength she does have, herself. The way the sound shifts with the scene, that it takes on complexities at just the right time, and that it takes away to lend itself to previous motifs and brings out other sounds just as the scene plays out, really hits home this idea of following the script closely. While we did get to the end of the episode finally with Kaerimichi, I'm actually quite fond of the episode. Not only because Rika is my favorite of the cast, but this entire episode is full of songs from Mito, and many of his tracks have a specific feeling that I got pretty good at recognizing. Didi describes a similar feeling, saying, Mito's tracks really soak into the anime's visuals. There's this distinct quality where his music leaves a blank space where the visuals enter. Innocent is an example of this, being played in the same Rika-centric episode as she and I are hanging out, and Rika airs her grievances. It starts as Rika declares that she will now be serious Rika, and it's almost so quiet you might miss it.
だから。じゃあ、さっきはどうしたの？嫌なこと急に全部思い出しちゃってさ。辛くなっちゃったんだ。私もママのこと今は嫌い。最近自分もいつかああなっちゃうのかな。
This quiet and passive volume naturally allows for other sounds to seep in, but the pacing of the song is also quite poignant. There's this consistent draw of these initial chords. At first, the space between them is long enough that the dialogue fills in, and in that way, it almost feels like there is a conversation going on in the music as well. Even as the song goes on, as we get more instruments, the song still retains its atmosphere. It set itself in a specific mood, just like the scene. As the scene goes on, we get more aspects to Rika's characterization, which is where the other instruments and additional melodies are added in. The song naturally gives way for the actions to happen, like this part where we get this rising crescendo that stops just as Rika winds up for another swing.
好きで結婚したりエッチするんじゃねえのかよって。
The song builds up, but lets down to give way for what's on screen. This is even matched to the end of Rika's sentence, as if punctuating it and bringing us to the next beat. Then, when the additional note is added here, the scene switches again. It doesn't interrupt Rika's yell, but acts as a guiding note to when we switch to Neru and Momoe, easing us forward. This scene is now being complicated and fleshed out by their inclusion. Even if their conversation isn't related to this main one, they're still there, and their moment matches the serious atmosphere of Rika and Ai's. The song is titled Innocent, and those feelings of being innocent, of these light chords and notes coming in and out, of something precarious, applies to all the conversations at hand. Rika is talking about her annoyance at adults, how she doesn't understand them and chalks it up to being a kid, this innocent youth. And for Neru and Momoe, it's about Neru's own naivety, how she never holds back and is true straightforward, an innocence in attitude, as she will innocently just say what's on her mind. The song tapers off at the end, a natural conclusion.
面倒がなくていいってことみたいね。
But one that also fits and leads out as Rika points to her home through loose night lights. It feels very intentioned in how we get these last few notes as we cut back to Rika's words. It, again, feels very calculated, as if the song plays into the strengths of the scene, guiding the scene as much as the visuals do, leaving it spaces so that the scene can speak but still be there, still present in support. At the very end of the interviews, Didi describes his debut composing background music for Wonder Egg, saying how he was able to really incorporate his identity into his work, and he found a new appreciation for a crucial aspect of life that you never stop learning. Mito makes this cute remark saying how he felt like a father seeing his son finally show their strut, and that he composed with care to create contrast. This might be why many of Mito's tracks are in general a lot softer and more mellow than Didi's. But even in that contrast, I don't think one overshadows the other. As Mito says in the conclusion, that variation feels comfortable to watch or listen to, and that he didn't feel like he retreated into the background at all. Rather, as a support, he felt like he was able to display 100% of his own originality. And I would have to agree. The comfortability of the soundtrack comes in the fact that even though there are so much high energy, electronic, and even dance pieces in the soundtrack, there is also so much that isn't. It matches the show, where certain scenes can bring you to the absolute heights of emotionality and poignant exploration of themes that are grounded in our mental health, to just a bunch of friends hanging out, to the fun and silly and hopeful draw of the characters. The soundtrack for Wonder Egg strikes for me a really crucial balance, having two, perhaps drastically different kinds of music, but when put together through the impressions and blending of one's experience to the analytical and keen eye of the other, makes something quite beautiful and colorful. And that was the end of the video. This second half kind of turned into a Rika-centric video subconsciously, but hopefully the analysis here was still interesting. I had a lot of fun doing it. Oh, and the last thing before I head off, I actually did create a Patreon. I don't think I'm gonna make a actual video to put out. I did make a trailer for the Patreon, so you can check that out. It's something that I've been meaning to do, but haven't been too sure on whether it felt appropriate, but I think it's good just to have out there anyways. So that's out there, no pressure or anything, just, I am literally leaving it at the outro of this video. So anyways, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.